Welcome to Debutante Renegade. First, let me say that if you're not subscribed already, please hit that subscribe button. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Also, I'm doing this in today's show, and I'm going to be doing this a lot more. I did one a few days ago as well. If you have a question that you want me to answer, whether it's a dating question, a relationship question, or a life question, parenting question, anything like that, any question that you need help with, please send me a PM, a private message in my Instagram, which is at Debutante Renegade, and it's in the description box. And I will answer it, much like I am today. So for today's show, I'm going to be talking about kid-teen eating issues. I had a question from a subscriber about her daughter and her daughter having food weight issues. And she's, I think, a teen, preteen. So I'm here to talk about that. And it's tricky. Kids and eating issues, food issues, weight issues, very, very tricky, very delicate topic. You want to be so careful as a parent when it comes to the issue of your child's weight because, it's such a scary terrain. If you navigate it wrong, you could give them a food issue. You could give them an eating issue. You could give them an eating disorder. So it's really tricky. It's scary. And I can say from my own experience, that conversation I had with my father when I was a teenager gave me an eating disorder, So it's one of those things where you want to be really, really, really cautious. I'm going to start this topic with a little bit of my personal experience too. As many of you may know, some of you may know, I was a fat kid for a large portion of my childhood. I want to say like 8 to 12, I was the fattest kid in class and the fattest kid at camp, and I was the fat kid. And it was really hard because I moved a lot too. I moved every year or two of my childhood during that time. And so it was hard being the new kid and being the fat kid. I wasn't the pretty girl that everyone wanted to be friends with and liked. I was chubby, I was fat. And some people didn't like me because of that. And, I was rejected by boys and friends because of it. But I think it also taught me to have more of a personality and intelligence because I couldn't rely on my looks during that time of my life. So in many ways, I'm grateful for the experiences that I had. However, when I look back on that time and I look at how my body was and I look at my eating habits, I can't help but have a little resentment for my parents for not doing something about it. I didn't enjoy being fat. I didn't like being the fat kid. It was incredibly depressing, actually. Even though I still had wonderful aspects of my childhood, it was incredibly depressing. And I think in one of the trauma episodes, I talked about my mother and what she did to me and, why I think that gave me a food issue, an overeating issue. But whatever the issue is, if your kid is overeating, I was a kid who was overeating. I do think the parents have an obligation to intervene, and not just let the kid do that to themselves, because I think that it's your job as a parent to protect your children and protect their health. And while being overweight doesn't always equate to bad health, I think that that's a dangerous assumption our society always makes, that just because somebody has some extra meat, they're unhealthy. That's not always true. You can have some extra meat and be perfectly healthy. However, if you're overweight, you are at higher risk for being unhealthy, for having various health problems. Just like, smoking, for instance. Just because you smoke, that doesn't mean you have emphysema. That doesn't mean you have lung cancer. That doesn't mean you have health problems because you smoke. However, smoking puts you at higher risk for having health problems. So the same reason you don't want your kids to smoke should be the same reason you don't want your kids to overeat or eat too much junk food, or be overweight, because it puts them in the same category of risk, of health risk. So really being the best parent you can be is protecting your child's weight. That said, it can be really difficult to protect a child's weight. I think there's a lot of ways in which parents could try and fail, and then it's not really, who's to blame? Do we need to blame anybody? The situation is what it is. However, I do wish that my parents had let me know that certain foods cause you to gain weight and get fat, and certain foods can help your body lose weight, and be trim. And had I known that and been offered the choices, like here is, because when you're a kid, you like what, like chicken tenders and fries or whatever. Here's a plate of chicken tenders and fries. You love this, it's delicious, but if you eat this, it could, make you fatter or make you stay the way that you are. It could make you gain weight, or it could, make you stay as you are. Here's this grilled chicken breast and vegetables. You might not like the taste of that one so much, but if you eat this one, it's going to help you be trim, and here's a choice, here's a choice between two things. Granted, I think choices should be for older children, not younger children. I think if you have a younger child, like we're talking 4, 5, 6, you give them the chicken breast and the vegetables. If they're starting to gain weight, you stop giving them the chicken tenders and the fries and the candy and the ice cream and this and that. As a parent, you are creating an unhealthy child if you're giving them junk food and they're already overweight. And I see this with a lot of kids, and a lot of parents, and, I get it. It's hard. And maybe that's how you, the parent, eat whatever, but you have an opportunity to do better for your kid, and go ahead and be a hypocrite. Eat the junk food yourself, but give your kid the healthy thing because you want them to have a better life. But whatever, parents are going to raise their kids the way that they're going to raise them, and if you're an overweight parent and you give your kid food that makes them overweight and they're overweight too, and you're fine with that, well, that's your choice. I would say that your kid might resent you when they get older and have issues and struggle, or if they have health problems, etc. They might resent you a little bit. But maybe they won't, and maybe they'll be happy that way. There's, these things can go so many different ways. I do think that parents have an obligation to intervene on their child's behalf and their best interest. So in the case of, we'll call this messenger Mrs. C. In the case of Mrs. C with her daughter, what I think she should do, because her daughter's a little bit older, not a little kid, not someone she can just give the chicken breast and the vegetables to. Her daughter's at an age where she makes her own decisions and, she has her own will. So the best thing that she can do is talk to her daughter about what she wants. When you're a teen, when you're a preteen or you're a teen, you know what you want. If you want to eat that, if you want to look like this or look like that. If you're overweight, it at that point. You're not a 6-year-old who's not really aware. When you're 13 years old, probably you know it. You probably do. Somebody's probably said something, or you can tell by the way that you look that you're overweight. So if that's the case and you're a parent, you don't have to point out to your child that they're overweight, but you could ask them questions when it comes time for dinner and food. If they don't like, make healthy things that are going to help them, be at their optimal weight and be healthy. And if you don't know how to do that, look it up, talk to a doctor. They'll give you suggestions, and there's like a million recipes online. But if your preteen is refusing to eat the things that you're offering or in the quantities that you want, or they're eating the healthy dinner, but then they're going to the snack cabinet and binging on 3 bowls of cereal after dinner or whatever they might be doing, that becomes a tough thing to control. As as a parent, how do you? Would you put a padlock on the cupboard? No, you can't do that. The best thing that you can do is have a conversation. Have a conversation with your preteen or teen and ask them what they want. Hey, I noticed you've been having more stuff after dinner, this or that. You're feeling extra hungry. You're feeling hungry. Foods high in carbohydrates and high in sugar, they make your body feel hungry. A lot of times, even when your body doesn't need food, it feels hungry because of the way those foods affect your blood sugar. Now, how do you feel in your body? How do you feel in your skin? Do you feel good? Do you feel healthy? You feel strong? Do you like the way that you look? Ask these questions. And if your teen is like, even if they're overweight, even if they're obese, if they're like, yes, I feel great, I feel strong, I feel good, I'm happy. And then you got to let them be. Unless, the doctor says, hey, they're overweight, you could say to them, hey, the doctor said that you have some extra weight on you and it might be best for you to lose some weight. Are you interested in trying? Do you want to lose some weight, etc.? Ask them. If they say no, what are you going to do? There's really not much you can do, but chances are there's a good chance that they want to lose weight. I feel like most people want to lose weight. Most people that are overweight, most people that are fat, most of them want to. If given a choice, like, hey, do you want to be fat or do you want to be trim? Most people, I think everybody would choose trim. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know many people whose goal weight is 300 pounds of fat. Most people's goal weight is, under 200 pounds, whatever, a waist to measurement that's smaller. That's what most people's goal is. Most people don't want a 50-inch waist or whatever, that's not usually the goal. So it happens. I know about gaining weight more than anybody. I have to work my ass off just to be voluptuous and curvy. I really have to discipline myself and exercise a lot and watch what I eat just to be curvy, so I know it's not like I'm not saying all of this behind some veil of privileged thinness. People want to be thin. Yeah, they do. Myself, I'm speaking for myself. And, I think there's varying levels of bodies that are acceptable and healthy. I think our society typically puts too much strain on thinness. And I think that there are many perfectly healthy, beautiful body types that are a little bigger than what we see in movies and shows and magazines, etc. I think that it is starting to change. But I think there is an imbalance of what we see. I don't think we necessarily see healthy represented. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the teens and weight. I'm talking about healthy weight. I'm not talking about they look ready for a magazine or a model. I'm just talking about being healthy and being normal and not being overweight, not being obese, right? So the best thing you can do is ask, if it's a teen, preteen, ask them what they want from their body. Are they happy with it the way it is, or do they want to make a change? Well, if they do want to make a change, or if they want to feel different, then you as the parent are going to have to help them and give them some guidelines. Hey, instead of having 3 bowls of cereal after dinner, why don't you have a little celery and peanut butter? Or, make them some sugar-free, keto dessert thing that satisfies them. And again, just look at keto recipes online and you get used to it. That's what I gave my son a cupcake after dinner last night, but it was keto. It was sugar-free. He felt like he was having the indulgence, but it was low carb, sugar free. It didn't spike his blood sugar. It didn't he wasn't going back snacking later after dinner. I know if I give him something pasta or whatever, he's an hour later, he's like snacking, because those carbs, they make you hungry. Anyway, ask your preteen what they want. If they want to change, help them. Do your homework, talk to a doctor, talk to a trainer, talk to a nutritionist, get advisement wherever you can, or do your own research and use things that have worked for you. Help your teen out in the best way that you know how, without shaming them. Don't tell them that they're no good or not good enough, or they need to be this or they need to be that. That's not going to be helpful, and that's just going to make them rebel against you even more. But just offer them some help. Just offer to help them with their goal. If they have a goal, you're there to help, and figure out ways that you can help them. But give them a choice. Ask questions. That's really the best thing you can do with any other humans, is ask questions. Don't make assumptions. Don't assume that they want to lose weight or they don't like how they are. Ask them how they feel, ask them what they want. And and if there comes a time when they want to go get some fast food, or they want to have a dessert, and you ask them like, hey, do you want that? Or that's going to interfere with your goal, but maybe they're like, I don't care, like I want the food more than I want to achieve the goal. And that's their choice, and our lives are filled with choices like these, and how we navigate those choices is what determines our path and our outcomes. So, the best you can do is help navigate your preteen in this very tricky terrain, but don't shame and don't tell them what to do, because at that age especially, they're just going to resent you and rebel. Just ask them what they want, ask them what their goals are, and help them. Hold their hand in that. Again, if they're younger, you can take control of it yourself, and do take control of it. If you see your kid getting fat and gaining weight, as the parent, take control of that. Do better for your kid, because it's hard. And if you put all that weight on when you're a kid, you build all those fat cells when you're young. Your body has those fat cells for the rest of your life. And then when you're an adult like me, any little thing that you eat can store away in those fat cells, and it becomes so hard. Your whole life is just battling your weight. Don't set your kid up for that. It's hard. Life is hard enough. Give them the best that you can give them. Give them health. First and foremost, give them health. If they're young, do it for them. If they're older, ask them what they want. And if they're older, it could be out of your hands. And then accept that and love them as they are, and embrace them as they are, and encourage them as they are. Don't resent them for not wanting for themselves the things that you want for them, because there's just not much you can do about that, especially when they're a teenager. I hope this was helpful. Mrs. C, I hope this answered your question, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a beautiful rest of your day.